Now it is time for this week's Difficult Conversations, but stay with us because we will be updating you on all the breaking news. If you've just tuned in, Andy Burnham has thrown his hat in the ring, and also Donald Trump has acknowledged and praised the British troops for their work in Afghanistan. And today's conversation is actually an interesting one. It's a former British colonel and author, Alexander-Cooper. Now, he's opening up about a night raid that went catastrophically wrong. The guilt of surviving when a comrade didn't, and also how those moments shaped his approach to resilience, leadership, fatherhood, and learning how to live with trauma. We'll also get his thoughts on Donald Trump's acknowledgement that British troops did stand on the front line with American troops in Afghanistan. So joining me, former British colonel and author Alexander-Cooper OBE. Ash, thank you very much for coming in. Very poignant time as well, in particular for soldiers, ex-soldiers, and people who have fought for this country. Talk to me about what happened, your story.
Well, that's one of a number of stories in the book where, as a soldier, we found ourselves in a place where the enemy shot at us, and unfortunately a lot of us were wounded and one was killed. But I've been in many other situations over the course of my military career where that happened, and obviously stood shoulder to shoulder with many others for whom this is a fairly familiar occurrence of being in combat and having to deal with the aftermath of that.
Now, there's one particular combat story that you tell, which is where you were actually literally in a firing zone, where you found yourself almost in a place that was almost unsurvivable, but at least it's four of you got out.
Four of us were wounded, yeah.
So talk to me about what happened there.
Yeah, so this was an incident where it did all go fairly wrong for us. It's the first story in the book, actually, and the reason I raised it is because I was shot a couple of times and hit with a couple of grenades, and four in my team were wounded and one was killed. And I raise it really because that was very shocking to me, not least as a leader. It was the first really serious engagement that I'd ever sort of found myself in as a soldier. And my brain just didn't process what was happening fast enough. And I still today think, if only I was more experienced at the time, would I have done anything differently? Would I have acted more quickly? I don't think with hindsight in the years that have passed since then that any of us really could have done anything differently. But many of those kinds of experiences do impact soldiers, sailors and airmen, for many years or decades after their service. And that's partly why I've written Mindful Soldier, is to help not just soldiers, but anybody in life who may be going through challenge or trauma to understand how the brain works, really, and to help them build resilience so we can all be more equipped or better equipped to handle the complex world in which we all live.
And how do you feel about Donald Trump omitting the detail that British troops were actually at the front line with him in Afghanistan, as were other NATO allied nations?
I mean, from what I've heard, it's an acknowledgement rather than an apology.
Yes.
But clearly, in the last 24 hours, he has done quite a bit of harm with such offensive comments that will, and I know they have really impacted people, and I've spoken to a number of widows and orphans and fellow service personnel, Americans and others who, the Americans are apologising on his behalf, but it has been quite triggering for people to have been told that they didn't really matter. I think that's the inference that people have taken, when actually, per capita, the UK and Denmark particularly lost as many, if not more people than the US.
And how important is it for you to be writing this book? What does it do for you? Does it help you through your own trauma?
Well, I'm very lucky that despite the trauma and the traumatic experiences that I've encountered in my life, both personal and professional, I'm fairly well, okay as a result of it. But I recognise that many others are not, who may have faced more or less traumatic things. So I didn't really mean to write a book. I was kind of bullied into it by friends and colleagues and clients, actually, who said that you've got to write some of these stories down, because if you can get through some of these things, then maybe those experiences can help other people understand and put into perspective their own lives. And therefore, this is not about or for me. There are some of my stories clearly in here, but it's been designed really to help others, and all profits that I make, assuming there'll be some, hopefully lots, if your viewers particularly go and buy it, every penny of profit is going to particularly two amazing charities, the Gurkha Welfare Trust and the Royal British Veterans Enterprise, so that we can help more and more people. All right,
so the book is entitled
Mindful Soldier.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there it is. If you can hold the book up so people can see it. There you go, yeah. Mindful Soldier. And it is by Alexander-Cooper. Please help him out.
Please go and buy it. It's available in all good bookshops and all other bookshops as well.
All right, thank you very much, Alexander-Cooper OBE.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. His brilliant book, Mindful Soldier.